Hey y'all, this is Steve with Chasing Tails 411 coming at you with another video finally. This is a follow-up to the rice video. The purpose of it, you'll see more towards the end of the video, that it has to do with plastic, and I'll get into that in the video. But for now, I had to fix the ending of my video, so in the midst of fixing the end, I figure I'd fix the beginning too and tell you that that's what the video is about. It's about plastic, and so hopefully you stick around and watch the video, and I appreciate all the likes and all the comments and things of that nature. So enjoy the video, and we'll catch you next time. Alright. Hey y'all, this is Steve with Chasing Tails 411. Going to do a follow-up video to a video I did a year ago on storing some food products for long-term and God forbid emergencies. So stick with me, and we'll go over this. And I've got some questions and comments from subscribers, and boy, I tell you, here lately there's been a lot of people seeing my video, and I'm getting a lot of good feedback. So, but I do want to answer some questions and comments and things of that nature. So stick with me and we'll get into it here in a minute. Alright, so what we've got going on here is I did a video on storing up some food, and I gave some of my ideas on how I do some of it. And I've gotten a lot of comments and stuff like that. And thank you everyone for watching, and hopefully I can get some more stuff going. I've been busy here lately. The wife and I are just going through some major career changes and stuff. I retired from being the over-the-road truck driver, as some of those couple of the earlier videos I did. I've been an over-the-road truck driver for 30 years, and you know, I just want to be home more, and so I went out and bought a truck, and I'm going to be doing local business, and hopefully that plays out. The wife just got blessed with a new job and all that. So let's get into this for just a second. The first person that I want to mention is a fellow by the name of Robert Fisher. He mentioned about the buckets, and he wanted to know, why am I concerned about using food grade buckets versus like $5 Home Depot buckets and stuff. And I basically, my answer to that is that I am a person that likes to try to figure out, if there's just like a bug out bag, if you're wanting to carry something in your bug out bag, you want whatever you're carrying to do more than just one thing. So same here is the idea with the food grade buckets. I know they're more expensive. I think these were like $10 or $12 a piece, which is, you know, a considerable amount more than, say, your orange Home Depot bucket. But anyway, the purpose of that to me is that if the Mylar bag goes bad, I can safely dump the food into the bucket, and the bucket is good storage for food products. There's BPH free and all that technological stuff that I don't get into. And I don't want to rant, but I want to get into this, and that is that my channel is not based on me being any professional, okay? I am not a professional. What I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to try to show you guys that if I can do it, then so can you, and we need to do something. Just like I want to get into the bushcrafting more, and I want to get out into the woods more. And you know, I like the woods, but I've never been a bushcrafter. I've never been a prepper, you know. So there's things I'm trying to learn, and in the process of that, maybe somebody else can learn too. So I'm just having fun, and we'll go from there. A Kurt C asked the question, where did I get my bulk food? When I bought my flour, beans, cornmeal, all that, I bought it in 50-pound bags. And here locally where I live, there are 2 or 3 bulk food stores, and that's what they focus on. But what they do is they'll take a 50-pound bag of something, and they'll put it into smaller containers, and sell them small containers to people for different recipes on food, whatever, cooking and different things of that nature. But they also sell it by the 50-pound bag. And so I call them and tell them what I want. And when I ordered my 200 pounds of rice, or up above here, I think that's out of screenshot, is buckets of oatmeal, 5-gallon buckets of oatmeal, the rolled oats. I don't personally like the stone or the steel cut oats. I like the rolled oats, so I get rolled oats. But my cornmeal, my flour, I bought some fish flour. It's Kentucky Colonel, I think it is. And I stored some of that up because I have a fish pond, and in an emergency, if I want to cook up some fish, well, by golly, I need to batter it, right? So anyway, so that's so bulk food stores. They're all over the country. It can be, you know, I'm not going to give out names and all that, but anyway, I just basically went to my local bulk food store and ordered ahead of time, and it takes about a few days, up to a week, to get it in, and then they call me and tell me it's ready. I go pick it up. I've had a whole lot of comments that are complimentary, and I'm very humbled by that. I thank you guys for the kind words. So far, my channel's kind of young, and I haven't experienced a whole lot of the negative yet, and I'm sure it'll come. But right now, I'm very blessed to the fact that almost none of what has been said lately on my video has been negative, none of it. So I much appreciate that. You know what, and I'm going to do is I am going to name these individuals, because that's, you know, Red Pilled Patriot is one of them. Johnny Nelson. Boy, here's one that I might mispronounce. Sanika Days is one of them. D-Bo08. Teresa Hayes. Minnie Tomlinson. And Shama's Country Charm. Very nice compliments. Blessings are how I live. And Shauna, and everybody else, I am not going to be shy about my faith. I'm not going to preach to anybody. Everybody has their own thing. But for me, I live with the good Lord in my life, and things that happen in my life, I give Him thanks for it, and that's just the way it is. I don't mean to offend anybody. If I do, I apologize, but I'm not going to change that. If something happens in one of my videos and I feel that it's a blessing, it's going to be described as such. It's just the way I am. So I appreciate that. What do we got here? We got Laurie H. Made a compliment about the basic instruction, and that's kind of what I'm looking for here. I'm not wanting to put the professional spin to it and the technological spin to it. I like the idea of keeping it simple and understandable, because boy, there's a lot of people that can talk over my head real quick. So I don't learn anything that way. They sound wonderful, they sound very smart, they sound all that, but it's not helping me any. So I'm trying to keep it simple for people like me, because that's the way it is. People, sometimes people get too technological, and people like me, I repeat myself too much. You know, people tell me I do it all the time. So, but anyway, Amado Leon, I think I pronounced that correctly. Charles McGonigal is another one. Shirley Drake and C. Caden. I may have missed some, and if I did, I apologize, but that's a pretty good list, and I thank you guys very much. Duchess Eberline made a good point. She, I guess it's a she, Duchess. So, but anyway, she mentioned the idea of smaller amounts, and she mentioned about the idea of taking the Mylar bags And you can take a 5-gallon Mylar bag, and you can take and cut it into whatever squares you want, and you can seal up the corners to make a packet this big around if you want, you know, whatever. And she mentioned the idea of 2 cups and doing it in Mylar bags. Doing that, I think that's a wonderful idea. When you do them smaller amounts like that, these oxygen absorbers, okay, as I described in my last video, these are 2,000 cc oxygen absorbers, and one 2,000 cc is what I used in my 5-gallon bucket of rice. Okay, now you could take, and they make smaller ones. I don't know if you can see the difference in these jars. Hopefully you can. But this is the 2,000 cc here, and this one is 300 cc's. And then I've also got a 500 cc, which is a little bigger. But you can get the little ones that are like a 10 cc or 50s or whatever. And so with what this Duchess Eberline is suggesting, you can use a smaller one. But I would always suggest using this because of the simple fact is that they are critters out there. Weebles, different things that get into your foods that could destroy them. And so remember, like I said in the video, oxygen and water are the 2 main things that kill food, and we need to eliminate them as much as possible. So when you're doing the smaller amounts, still use an oxygen absorber in it. If you do like a bag the size of a grapefruit, let's say, and you put 2 cups in there, and you take, let's say, a 100, possibly, I would rather have more than I need in the bag than not enough. So if you've got a small amount and you think it could go with a 10 cc would work, it doesn't hurt to put a 50 in there to make sure that it sucks down and that it gets all the oxygen out. So she has a good idea there, and I'll probably be doing some of that actually. Right now, the jars have been my idea of smaller amounts up to this point because I want to utilize that space. Here I am repeating myself again. Again, Antonio McCoy, he made mention about where did I get the buckets, bags, and bulk food. The buckets and bags, where are my bags? Here. These are my 5-gallon bags. I got this stuff, Amazon, you better pay me for this, but no. I got this stuff on Amazon. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but they're a pretty awesome concept store-wise. But anyway, there ain't much I've been looking for that's weird that I can't find on Amazon. So anyway, but the buckets and the bags themselves, I ordered them on Amazon. And when you get this stuff in the mail, they individually, whoever this customer is, gives me information, and I can call them directly from there. You know, and I can call this bucket company and order buckets. I can call this Mylar bag company and order bags. But Amazon is where I got those items, and I already described where I got the bulk food stuff. James Miller, he says done up like this will last 20 plus years. And I totally agree with him. I totally agree that by doing this, there's no reason why it won't last 20 years. Because there's nothing attacking it. There's nothing that has the ability to attack it. If I was to take this bucket down, and if you'll notice, the lid is still not hammered down on it a year later, because I want to be able to inspect it regularly. And I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but this is one of the buckets I did in that video, and it's dated 1/23 of 18. This is bucket number 3 of 6. And if you can see, that is hard as a brick. Very, very good. Very good. If I open one of these up and that bag is loose, well, I need to start over because there's a hole in the bag. And it happens. It happens. It could be anything. But yeah, it came out all right. And this is a year later, a year plus later, and it's hard as a brick. No air in there at all. And if there were any weevils or, hell, if there mouse, it don't matter. Whatever it is that would have been in there alive when I did this a year ago, trust me, is no longer alive. And if there's weevil eggs or anything like that, which is highly possible, there's no way they'll hatch because there's no air for them to breathe. There's no water to germinate. There's no the things you need or the things that they would need. So somebody had made mention of the idea of freezing, and it's possible. I think a lot of that stuff comes from old school. The idea that back in the day, before oxygen absorbers were invented, to do something like this, freezing it for a few days would kill the eggs and things of that nature and do the kind of stuff needed. But I have a problem with the freezing on the idea of moisture, because when you freeze something, moisture seems to gather, and so then you have to dry it, and you have to worry about, is it dry enough? Where when you buy it nowadays, it's dried real well when you buy it. And with the idea of the oxygen absorbers, I don't think the freezing process is necessary. By the way, Jugula Forever One, Forged About It, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing these things correctly, and Doug Dickerson, all three had made mention of this. And it's a good point, and I think it's well taken. But this day and age with the oxygen absorbers, I don't think it's necessary. Also with the Duchess Eberline, there was also someone else, and that is a Beta Bundan. God, I hope I'm naming these right. This, I guess, probably why it's probably not a good idea to mention people. But I'm wanting to show thanks for all the subscribers and everything. So I'm trying to mention these folks and show my thanks. So if I mispronounce something, I apologize. But anyway, this individual mentioned about the smaller amounts as well. So it's good that people are out there thinking, and that's the main purpose of this. Here lately, I noticed some conversations, and y'all may have heard of this, but about the idea of plastic rice, about plastic being ground up to look like rice kernels, if that's what they call them. Kernels? Are they called kernels? I don't know. But anyway, and they're being plastic in their rice. And at the time, I didn't even think about that when I bought this. Now, one thing I will mention as well is that when I bought this at my bulk food store, I paid a little extra and I told them I wanted organic. Now, hopefully I got 100% rice here. But I'll be honest with you, this has been sealed up for over a year. We pulled it down from here. And I want to pour some out and see what I see. Because I want to know if my rice has plastic in it, and I think you do too. Something to keep in mind if you're just getting started at this, and if you haven't bought any yet. My hope is that by me telling my bulk food store that I wanted organic rice, that I'm safe. I think I am, but based on what I've seen, I think you got to look pretty close to determine whether there is plastic in your rice. So what I want to do This is, I really don't want to crack this open, but then again, yeah, I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to crack it open. I mean, look at this. You can't even, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I can't even hardly pull that bag up off of that rice. That is awesome. And by doing so, if I poke a hole in this, now I don't want to destroy my bag. Let's see. Now this side over here is where I made my L shape. And this is where I put my vacuum in, and it's sealed lower. So I think I'm going to go over here to this other side, and I'm going to poke a hole in my bag. Hey. All right, here we go. Let's see what we got here. Oh, listen to that. It's sucking air. You can hear it sucking air. You hear that? Yeah. All right, enough of that. All right, so now I cut a small slit in it. Ooh, that smells nice and fresh too. I cut a small slit in it, and I've opened the bag. I want to pour some of this out, and I want to make sure that I don't have plastic in my rice, because if I do, I'm going to be mad. And I don't understand the concept of, I don't know if it's a manufacturing mistake or if it is a way to rip us off. I mean, you know, there's so many things that go on anymore, and I don't even want to get into all that, but let's see what we got here. Just pour some of this out and investigate. And my hope is that because I got organic, I don't have anything to worry about. You don't have to pour out much. That's probably more than I need right there. And also too, as we do this, something to think about. Don't let your rice or whatever you've got, don't let it get around in places, because that will draw critters like mice and things of that nature. They get here, who knows what they might do. But I set mouse traps. I've got a daily food pantry in there that we use. The wife, when she shops, she buys extra of the stuff that we eat all the time, and we kind of rotate that. I'm hoping we get a little better with it. I think we can do a little better with that, but I do two different deals. This is long-term stuff, and then in the other room I have basically whatever she buys for groceries. When it's on sales, if it has a shelf life or whatever, a rotation, we can buy extras of them items, and that way we've got extras. Boy, that smells good. You can smell it. But anyway, as I look at this, I don't see, thankfully, I don't see, all I see is rice. Now, somebody had made mention about putting it in water, putting it in warm water. And so we're going to do that. You know, I'm hoping that all of this is, I'm hoping all of this is rice. I don't see anything, I don't see anything that looks like plastic. But, I mean, and yeah, I know that sounds crazy. But, so anyway, so to do this, I need to get a glass of hot water. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and I'm going to pour some in this water. And I want to see, because apparently the warm water will cause the plastic to rise. And it gets to rising to the top, and you'll see, and and it looks like little pieces of rice, but it was plastic. And as we sit here so far, I know you probably can't see it, but take my word for it. Right now there's nothing rising to the top. It looks like it's all rice to me. Because the rice is dense, it wants to sink, but the plastic would come to the surface. So, I mean, again, I poured out 200 pounds of rice, and this was somewhere in the middle of it. And if there was going to be plastic in any of this, it would be just as much here as it would be anywhere else. And so there's not a whole lot of need to waste a lot of this. But I am highly confident that there is no rice, or no there's no rice in my plastic. So maybe a good suggestion is to make sure that you get organic. If people are playing games, if it's a manufacturing mistake, if it's whatever reason, it doesn't matter to me whatever the reason. I mean, if it's purposeful, it does. That's a problem to me. But I would suggest organic rice. I just had one little thing there floating, and I ended up losing it, but it felt like a kernel of rice. I'm feeling pretty confident there that if there was any plastic, it would be floating to the surface. And this stuff looks uniform. You know, there's some white starchy coloring on it, but that's normal. And after a year, I don't see anything jumping out of the bag. I don't see anything moving. I don't see anything living. This has been like this for a year with just an oxygen absorber and vacuumed down. To reiterate the freezing, I don't see the necessity in it. But I also want to touch on another subject that somebody brought up, and that's brown rice. And from what I understand, brown rice is good for you. This individual is correct that that's rice. That brown rice is good for you. It has more nutrients than white rice. White rice is basically starch and sugar. It's, you know, I guess it's good for you. It could, excuse me. It's good for you. It can sustain. And the brown rice has more nutrients in it, which is true. But I also understand that when it comes to brown rice has a skin on it that you can't fix the problem of it rotting away. And it will become rancid, and it will become bad in your bag, and there's nothing you can do about that. It's an oily skin type, which is kind of where the good stuff is, but it's the part that won't survive in a situation because it'll rot. So you can't really do brown rice long term like this. Now you could do brown rice in a rotation situation where if you would like to eat brown rice, I highly suggest it. But if you enjoy rice and you want to put 50 bags of that in a rotation and you want to eat a bag of that occasionally and rotate it and rotate it and rotate it to where if at any given time something occurs, that rice is no more than a year old, kind of like rotating your bean, your baked bean, your canned soups and all that stuff, then you could do that. But I don't see doing the brown rice in these long-term food storages like this because it won't last. And right now I'm highly confident And I thank you, Lord, that I don't have plastic in my rice. You know, I've wasted enough of my rice here to do this little experiment, and I wanted to see for myself. I think we're good to go, and so I'm going to end up sealing this back up. I'm going to put a fresh oxygen absorber in there. I'll leave the one in there that's in there. It ain't hurt nothing. Like one of the guys had mentioned of recent, he mentioned about using 1,500 or 1,800 or whatever. You know, it's better to have more than not enough. So you could put, you know, you could put two 2,000s in there if you want. You ain't hurting nothing. It's just you're guaranteeing that you're going to definitely get all the oxygen out. So it's better to have more than not enough. So I'll leave that one in there. It's probably done its job anyway. I'll put a fresh one in, and I'll get this sealed back up here in a little bit. I don't know what else I need to cover on this, but man, I really appreciate all of the interest here of late, and this is what's brought on this follow-up to answer some of these questions and stuff. So man, you know, I thank y'all for tuning in, watching, subscribe. And this is where I went. Where did the end of my video go? Hey, I did get the subscribing in. But anyway, speaking of that, I tell you what, I'm sitting here looking at my YouTube channel, and I've not done much, and I'd like to do more. I'm working that out. You've seen in the video the describing of the job change and things of that nature, career changes, and they're pretty big. But I figured I'd take this opportunity. I had to put something on the beginning, and because of wherever my ending went, I have to create another ending. So I just thought I'd take this time, and I noticed some most recent comments, compliments, if you will. I tell you, I've had a whole bunch, and again, there's none of them been negative, and I'm repeating myself again, but hey. But anyway, I got 2 more new subscribers. Tavino828 is one of them, and Wilbur Tubbs is another one. Hey, thanks for joining the group here, and hopefully I can get some more videos out. I've had several people tell me that they've learned a lot from this video, and that's encouraging, because again, I've learned a lot, and that's where we're at. Definitely that was a Sorath 15, because he's got Roman numerals, and I'm assuming that's what it is. But he says he learned a lot. And a Chris Caddy made mention of the idea of the bags ripping and stuff of that nature. So be cautious of that, because they work well, but they are tender. Pro Steel Rain and a Bromfield both made mention of the idea of using gloves and stuff, and yes, I'm inclined to agree with them. You got to be careful, and going forward, that's something I'm going to consider, because the oils on your skin and stuff could do damage, but didn't seem to have any problems. So, but it is something to consider. It's a good idea. A Mika Sky made mention that, boy, you're going to need a lot of water for all that rice, and yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you know, going back and touching on the brown rice thing and all of that, I want to say this: the white rice is really, it's a filler. You know, it's, you know, if you take a pound of hamburger, let's say, and you put a pound of rice with it, you went from feeding 4 people to feeding a dozen people, you know, and that's the idea of it. But yes, the water part is important. You know, whether you're doing this kind of thing or anything else, I mean, water is important regardless. You got to have that on a daily basis no matter what. But I do have water sources that are available to me externally and internally. But I capture rainwater into a large cistern, and that's where we get a lot of our drinking water and stuff. So I have access to that. Mark Everson, thank you for the kind words. This is fun. This is a learning curve, and I'm really enjoying the idea of having other people, you know me a little bit, and maybe I can get some more subscribers, get some more videos out there. Things are kind of working their way into a smooth flow with the job situation and that, and I'm creating a little more time for myself now. And again, I'm actually at my camp right now, spending some off time, and just here, just taking a little time off, and in the process of that, I figured I'd do this video. And it's about time. It's been long enough. So again, God bless y'all. Thank you for all the kind comments, and definitely keep subscribing and hit that like button, and there will be some more videos coming. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I had fun doing it, and the editing, the ending of it, I'm like, where'd my end go? But anyway, God bless, and we'll see y'all in the next video.